Hello everybody. Today we are going to talk something about Java. What is Java? Java is some kind of programming language. Programming is what? Programming is you're doing some kind of work, or scheduling something, or you're doing any kind of any kind of process, or any kind of what are the other things you can do, which kind of so any kind of sequence, or any kind of ordering, or any kind of other things you can do. Okay, so some of the things you can do is also graphics, animation, all these things you can do. Okay, so basically you have to write what is called a language. As such is categorized into different things. One is called speaking language. Okay, that is a different kind of language. Then writing, there's some kind of English, German, French. That is a language definitions for different types of people out there in the world. Okay, similarly, that is for higher level language of interpretation for the human. Okay, so usually humans are taught about languages about kind of English, or they are taught things about Japanese or Chinese or Korean and things like that. Similarly, programming also developed into different kinds of sectors. Okay, so they wanted to first get into business sector, then they wanted to get into graphical sector, then they wanted to do some kind of visual sector, and then they wanted to do some kind of design sector and things like that. So each sector has got different things to be done. Okay, so when we were talking about BSc systems and Unix kernels, they are just using some other kind of languages. I told you already. It starts from a higher level language, then it goes down to a lower level language. It does what is called a compiler, linker, loader, assembler, linker, loader, and things like that. Okay, so you have a 5 step or 6 step process to finally convert into what is called the byte code or bit code, or uh, those kind of things. Okay, so today we are going to talk something about Java. Java is also a scripting language, or it is a kind of higher level language over other kind of languages. Okay, so basic Java was written on some kind of lower level language, some of the things are written over assembly, some of the things are written over C, C++, and things like that, and some of them are SQL kind of thing and things like that. Okay, so yeah, the first thing is Java has got what is called a JVM. Okay, Java Virtual Machine. So basically you're creating a complete virtual kind of machine on some kind of networking architecture, or some kind of other processors, or something like that. Okay, so you can have any kind of processor, but this is going to be the language independence. Okay, so basically it's scripting language independence. So you write Java in any kind of language, you write any kind of code in Java language, then you can use them on different kinds of systems, in the sense you don't have to worry about the lower thing, like what kind of hardware is below and things like that. But if you're writing in C++, you have to take care of all the lower level things, like what operating system is running and things like that. Okay, so those kind of things are there. So today we are going to talk specifically about Cisco IOS. Okay, Cisco IOS has got what is called a configuration kind of things for routers, switches, and hubs. Now, if you imagine the whole world and things like almost like 8 million routers, 10 million systems, and things like that are running. Okay, you may imagine some kind of kind of like factory or something like that. So there are so many other things also, like control systems and things like that. Okay, so what happens is you have to write some kind of graphical user interface. Okay, first thing you have to write some kind of graphical user interface to, you know, uh, to do some of the works of the say if you go to a screen or something, you punch out the screen on this thing. Say you have a small timer card or something like that. So if you go into a computer, you just touch some of the things, and then you get your time card stamped and things like that. So this is the basic levels of GUI. Okay, graphical user interface. Okay, that is what is called graphical. So 10 of the most popular Java frameworks of 2020. There are plenty of reasons why Java, being one of the older software programming languages, is still widely used for. For one, the immense power one wields when using Java is enough to make it their staple. Okay, people that possibility that using good Java frameworks bring you good lesson the turnaround time for big projects. So usually for projects they use Java. Okay, so what are called frameworks. What are frameworks? Frameworks is you know to do a specific kind of targeted kind of features. Okay, so basically it's a set of features which are available, and they are classified into different groups. Okay. So this is what is called a framework. This post will show you some of the most popular Java frameworks of 22. While there are more than just 10 such frameworks, the ones listed which discuss stick out features and use of them of a rational use for qualification. So these are the things which are used for qualification or something like that. So most of the things about 10 features of Java, which is going to this. So they overall encompass about 10 different features of Java scripting. Okay. Last time we saw pre-program how to write an operating system, how to do move all the processors, how to do an assembly code. So this Java framework is going to give you a look and feel kind of things over an operating system. So first thing you have to so for iOS or something like that. Okay, so iOS is just going to configure the router and all the things which are, so you have to define something like if config minus a, kind of interface configuration, show routing table. So it is just going to print the routing table on the screen. Okay, so it is a console kind of thing. It's just going to print. But if you want to do any statistics of how many number of routes are there, where are all there, where it is being used, high amount, and you want to show them as a kind of report kind of thing where it is going to be, displayed in a nice, useful manner or things like that, then you have to do some kind of graphical user interface. So this is a kind of overlap over that. Okay, usually they use low level call things like say system calls like shell. Some of the things might be shell called, or some of the things might be you know if config minus a. So that if config minus a will be there. What is a show routing table. Okay, so if you say show routing table, it's going to show the routing table, and over that it is going to take all the information, display it on the screen in such a way that you can use them for as a kind of interactive kind of thing. Okay, so Java frameworks works on different things, mostly for graphical user interface, some kind of response interface, and some kind of logging interface, some kind of testing interface, some kind of you know configured interface, and remote monitoring interface. Those are the different kinds of things where Java can be used. Okay, so it is just a higher level language because it's going to generate the whole code in a byte code. It's going to run on the machine straight away, and if you don't need Java, JVM or something like that, you can just overlap JVM over other kinds of things on the lower end. So if you have shell scripts also, you can run over shell scripts also. You can run Java. Okay, or you can run it over an assembly language also. Sometimes you can run over them. For the sake of leveling the discussion before a load of information comes your way, let's quickly settle what question. Okay, Java frameworks are themselves software created to make programming with Java an easy endeavor. They come in sets of pre-written code that you can append to your own, create custom solutions to problems. So it is basically some kind of custom solutions to problems. What are the different problems? Say if we want to if you have a huge data center or something like that, and you want to configure the entire data center, okay, so there are different types of servers, different types of networks, different types of, those kind of things are there. So each one of them have to be configured in a specific way, so that you create a routing table in a proper manner. So if some of the systems are going up and down, a network is going up and down, so you have to make a graphical user interface for such interface. So iOS, over iOS, you're going to write some kind of JavaScripts to manipulate all these things, and you have at the server end, you don't need those kind of things. You can just run JVM, or if you have a HTTP interface also, you can access some of the routers and do configuration, check for those things. Because once it is stacked, the routers are very difficult to find out where the problem is and things like that. Okay, the network connection will be extremely huge, and you can't get into the data center to do all the things, what configuration goes in where. And if you want to have a graphical analysis, or some other kind of routing table analysis and things like that, so you have to use some kind of graphical interface. Okay, how one want pick out a single framework over the rest is purely a matter of preference. So you can pick out the different kinds of frameworks what you need. What do you mean by a framework? Say if you want to do a front end development, okay, of a interactive kind of screen, then it shows all the different libraries and other things which you can use for that particular set of things. Say if you want to just develop tools or something like that, so it is going to have different set of things. Say you just want to test a particular graphical user interface, then it has got a set of things. So these are called frameworks. They are called frameworks. Okay, so that they are named differently, okay, depending on what kind of things it can do. Okay, now we have what is called a Spring. Is a very lightweight implemented Java framework, usually pretty much any type of Java project. So any kind of small time Java project can be done with what is called Spring. It's called a Spring framework. It's a model framework that can be used for any level of layer of project. Makes it stick out, you know, stick out fact that you use it work not just one layer of project but also the entire scope. So Spring usually helps in the entire kind of scoping. Okay, so if you want to use Java framework Spring, then it is going to give you a complete architecture kind of thing, and it is very minimal kind of thing, so you can use it for. If working with MVC architectures, your thing, you love Spring. The framework also has good security features. So you can just call as already written. So it has got security features and some other kind of things, net calling, those kind of things are there. So if you want to use as a quick time kind of thing, then you can use Java Spring framework. Okay, for a good GUI development and proper configuration. Slide 1 doesn't require a web server besides the default container. So here are some advantages of Spring Java framework. So it doesn't need any kind of web support, but just besides the default container, it supports backend compatibility. So backend you can give any kind of support things where you can say if you are pushing a button on your screen and it has to react something with the other end, then it is so it supports for the backend. It has annotation style configuration compatibility. Okay, so what is annotation style configuration compatibility? So it's got, you can just annotate some kind of script language can be written over which you can annotate the whole compatibility. Okay, Hibernate is an object related mapping ORM framework that makes common data handling mismatch cases a thing of the past. You are always working with relational database. So Hibernate something to do with database and other, please become a staple. Okay, so Hibernate is something to do with database management and things like that. So if you want to dump dump screen, dump framework, dump the routing table, or so if you want to save the routing table on some kind of database, then those kind of things. So if you want to monitor a particular routing table or monitor a particular the interface, or if you want to monitor or set up routers and things like that. So, and you want to take a database dump of every 5 seconds, give me the routing table or something like that. So, for those kind of database dump, you can use what is called Hibernate. Okay, muscle that bridges paradigm differences. Companies like IBM, Dell have used the Hibernate framework for their web applications. So web applications, they you have to use what is called a you can have Hibernate framework. Okay, Hibernate is mostly used for web type applications. Okay, advanced using Hibernate. So which the front end pages that you type on the web, those are all developed by what is called Hibernate. Java server faces. It's often called JSF. Okay, huge task for backend developers. There is something called when you do something kind of server and a client and a server model. So basically, the client is the front end user and a server is the back end user. So you have to support on either end. Okay, so the front end will ask some kind of request, so the back end is going to respond to those kind of kind of questions, query and other things, or some other kind of iOS calls and things like that, or configuration calls or something like that. Then these Java server faces will help you to do the what for backend developers to get the front side of the complex applications right. Okay, so it's often a huge task for backend developers to get the front side of the complex application. So this is where it comes in handy. So the front end is given a complete thing, so the backend is going to just respond to some other thing, the front end is going to do a coalescing of the informations and other things, and those kind of things are all developed Java server faces. Okay, it's called JSF. So it's a big chunk of, so these separate kind of modular or modular libraries or something like that, they are called different names. Okay, that is why it is called Java server faces. Okay, so whether it is works on the back end or which back end developers have plenty of front end tools to use without too much coding. So you don't have to do too much of coding. So plenty of front end tools. So you have plenty of front end tools to do all the things. That is why it is used. Okay, JSF. Okay, Google Web Toolkit. So GWT. This is another one. So if you want to make any Google calls, going through the front end and then going and inquiring a router or something like that, those things are done by Google Web Toolkit. Okay, that is called GWT. Okay, here are some advantages of using GWT. It bridges the gap between backend and front end development. So it is going to connect the backend and the front end. So that is basically what Google GWT does. The cross browser compatibility comes in handy. So even if you're doing any kind of cross browser applications, like each one has got different kinds of web application. Like Google has got a HTTP display type, and some other Chrome has got a different type of servlet pages, and some other company has got some other kind of thing. These are all can be negotiated between different types of web application that you write. Okay, so each company has got its own kind of web development as search engines and other things. So that is why it is going to be GWT. Okay, struts, the latest version is a run enterprise level framework perfect for web developers. Its features rich, comes into two versions, strut 1 and strut 2. Most widely strut is basically extends the first version with everything that comes from Open Symphony Web. This means that you are roughly new to classes Ruby on the JavaScript framework to extend your Java application's functionality. So it structs the kind of extension of the functionality of the Java framework. Interesting advantage of using Struts Java framework include following. Struts fit into other frameworks seamlessly. So Struct is the kind of thing which can just, if you have to non-similar kind of operating system or different kinds of web services and other things, then you can Struts fit into those kind of frameworks seamlessly. You can bring what you are already working on, the extend capabilities, those already the Struts. So if people develop and starts in some area, and so there's another person also developing something in using struts and other things, then they can interface easily, so that you don't have to. They have a generic kind of graphical interface and other things. You'll enjoy drastically reduce development efforts and time. Okay. Now each one has got different feature set. That is why it has got how to call these things. It's not a just general kind of Java is not a kind of like a strict use of something. Okay, it is provide different kinds of feature set. That is why they come into different categories. Blade, the framework is very lightweight, four from the larger less Blade project. If you are predominantly a solo programmer and a freelancer, maybe spend time with since Blade will have application note. Most of the so you are just writing any kind of app development or any kind of fast application development and things like that, so that you can do kind of Blade. Okay, say what are application can say if you want to write an application for a router or something like that. So you can just write an application called config router. Okay, so that application you can just run it on your cell phone or cell phone. So that app will be is a kind of button on your cell phone, and once you install the app on your cell phone, then you can control some kind of router or something like that. So this kind of app kind of development to control some of the routing process and other things, those are like ping or trace route and things like those kind of all these things can be. So it gives you a complete GUI kind of framework to do all this. This is called Node.js. Okay, it's an external server request much like Node.js from which a lot of inspiration drawn when making the Blade framework. Okay, Node.js is another one which is going to be used. Blade framework for Java software development. Here's why you are using the Blade Java framework. You can add extensions to make your coding faster. So Jelly server comes handy in maintaining a lightweight environment. It's predominantly MVC framework. Okay, so some kind of maintenance type framework. It might be lightweight. Play framework was created on the base of web application development, and by to use Play, one needs a web browser, any text editor, and some inking of how the command interface works on any OS. Okay, so the Play was the thing which was kind of thing which was used. So most of the people who developed operating system, they have some kind of scripting language, and this scripting language, interactive scripting language, has to be used over something else, and this kind of over the web browser and other things to play those things, then they use what is called a Play framework. Okay, that is another one. Okay, so it gives you kind of how a router is configured, what kind of stacking you can do for the router. Visually, how can you look into different stacking procedures? So you can just stack routers on the GUI, and that stacking possibility and how you connect all the different network connections you make and what kind of interfaces you connect, those things can all be done. How the stacks you can visually represent all these things, so that you can have a general idea of how the complete entire network structure looks like and things like that. Okay, what kind of routing it is taking, which is taking the shortest path. There are plenty of plugins and libraries from the communities around Java web development general, making it good framework where resources are not exactly abundant. Okay, if you don't have resources plenty of, then you can use Play Java framework. Companies such as EA, Lincoln, Verizon, Samsung use Play in their stacks. Okay, so some of the companies like Verizon, Lincoln, and those kind of the Play Java frameworks is RESTful by default. Okay, real-time development changes appear in the browser or a test device. Okay, so basically for testing and other things, you can real-time monitoring of testing can be done also using Play. Okay, so basically Play is something to do with automation, those kind of things. Okay, so if you want to configure a set of routers, say 500 routers, then you can use Play, so that you can just go on doing all the different configuration, looking at the things, cloud deployment and other things, and change appears on the browser test device. Even if you want different test devices that you want to say test 500 routers or something like that, then you can use these kind of routers or hubs, or other system configurations. Then you can do what is called a play. Buy in. This is an idea that the end users are petty, caring less for how an application will make the code sweat than how it looks and feels when in use. If you agree with this notion, then the Java framework will work just just fine for you. With Vadin, a developer can focus on using pure Java to build apps. So basically, Vadin is some kind of pure Java scripts you can use to build an app. Okay, and the framework will handle the interface that ranks as built-in UI components that can be. So you can use it built-in UI components here. Okay, so Cordova, JavaScript framework for cross-platform development, basically for cross-platform development, packaging, Vadin. Okay, Java framework. Good looking CSS. So, basically, it's GUI kind of interface, which has more visualization capacity. Okay, that is why it is called Java. What Vadin. Grails. Most of the Apache's offering is open source and comes bearing such as Java development live generate HTML code. So basically something to do with HTML code, JSON and XML are actually communication around Grails. Okay. So working on the Groove language. Also, this is kind of Groove language developer plugins you can use for free to enhance your own application. So if you want to enhance some kind of applications, then you can use what is called a Grails. Okay, so they are given different names to complete the front end development. Ease Chrome a data handling tool allows developers to access and work with both relational and non-relational data sets. So relational and non-related data sets, they have mismatch of relational and non-relational data sets, then you can use for Grails. Okay, yes, why you should use Grails. You won't have to try out on new IDE. So you don't have to try it on new. A general learning curve for the Grails is good for time-sensitive projects. The documentation is clear and sources of learning is get deployed in no time. Okay, drop is that. This is another one. Okay, webs and results is mostly made for things. Okay, developers are able to deploy quicker, less to sophisticated and abundance of tools make applications. It's also part of the Apache 2 project, making it open source, and 2 inherits the millions of users and contributors that make working with Apache projects so much pleasurable. This is called Drop Wizard Java framework. Okay, what is Drop Wizard? You have to go look into the thing. Okay, to get things done. Developers are able to deploy quicker due to less sophistication and the abundance of tools to make applications. So it's basically tools to make application. These kind of set of tools which are available. So sometimes some kind of drag and drop tools and other things are all. That is why it is called drop wizard. Okay, so you can just the tools are available straight away. If you want to create an application, then just pull out from the some kind of cut and paste kind of thing. Pull out things and then do a patchwork and integration work, and you can create the front end very fast. That is why it's called drop wizard. So the drop wizard is mostly used for fast development of front end, back end, GUI, and all these things. Okay. Java framework similarities and differences. So you don't need to go into. So you have to know all this. What does play do? What does play does? What is called playing of particular thing, which means active kind of active process kind of things. Okay, one of the major thing I wanted to show you, but I don't know where it is. Usually it is structs is for mostly for kind of database kind of environment. GWT is for back and front end development, cross browser capability. GWT. So some kind of web toolkits are all integrated into GWT. JSF is foundation libraries. Okay, I think it is Java Server Foundation, some server and foundation. You can those are foundation libraries where you can do make explicit Java calls to the lower level kind of thing. So support kind of infrastructure. That is why it is called Java for server faces. Or they call it Java server faces or I thought it Java. Okay, Hibernate is the one. Hibernate Java framework. Okay, so is an object relational mapping. Okay, framework that works common data handling mismatch. Okay, so if it is an object kind of thing, object relation framework could easily become your staple. Okay, the framework comes stock with data handling muscle. So basically, it is going to hibernate. Is going to do huge amount of data handling. So that is why you have to use hibernate sometimes if you're working in database frameworks and things like that. Okay, so for the front end or even to the back end, I think. Okay, so you got a different set of features for how to use Java. Why we use all these kind of Java scripting and all things is used for mostly for kind of front and back end development, control over some of the operating systems, control over some of the things where you can literally look at the different kinds of things that is happening within the operating system and things like that. Okay, so these kind of things, iOS also, you can write frameworks over iOS so that you can have a general like SNMP, simple network management protocols. You can use all the different kinds of features of SNMP and other things, and you can just develop using the whole thing using Java. So because it's a kind of platform independent, so you can write all these things. Okay, that is why. So if you want writing an operating system, say some kind of BSD operating Unix operating system, then you want to develop a graphical screen so that you don't have to type on the screen every time. If you want to have a like Windows kind of a look and feel, then you can write over over a Unix operating system. Then you can use kind of these Java frameworks and other things. Similarly, for other things also you can use like for routers. Routers you don't have to go and touch, but at least in the front end or kind of configuring some of the things of the internal things you can do. So you have to use all these frameworks and other things. Okay, I wanted to show you one more thing. What was it, JVM or something like that? I didn't want to go into JVM. JVM is just nothing but it just converts the whole thing into bytecode. Once you have done all the things, then JVM is just going to take the entire thing and convert it into what is called a bit code or byte code. What is framework in Java? That you have to, the framework are nothing but the body or platform of already written code. So they are all just already written code, and you can just those calls can be made. That is why. Okay, so it's set of library kind of thing, or over a virtual machine or thing. So immediately once you call all this and integrate the whole thing or as an application kind of thing, then immediately can test it and get the particular kind of application thing. That is why it's all the framework that is developed so that you can use all these calls as a kind of functional calls, libraries that are used basically, class and functions which can be used to process input, manage hardware devices that interact with system software. So system software, whatever it is interacting with the system software, you can use it. What is framework in Java and types? Okay, there is another one called React. React is a thing which is going to be used, the Java framework called React. I don't know where it is. It's mostly used. Spring is one of the thing, and then the other one is React. Okay, these are the basic things for any kind of. Uh, so development kit is for Java. Development kit framework is for most of the support tools kind of environment. That is why JDK is used. Okay, usually you don't have, most people use JDK just for compilation, those kind of frameworks and compilation, bytecode generation, finally testing out the things. Those kind of things are going to be done by JDK framework. So Spring and other things are, why Spring Boot is a framework. Spring Boot is an open source Java based framework used to create microservices. It's a development of a pivotal team and is used to build standalone and production ready Spring application. So why are we looking at all this Java framework and other things? Because you have to write control systems. Okay, basically to control a particular machine architecture, you want to control a product development of cars, or you want to control and manage the entire network for server architecture and things like that. Those kind of things you have to use for Java. So Java is mostly work as kind of front end. Say you have a manufacturing unit of car. Okay, so these manufacturing users are just going to use some kind of signals to use to control the robots and automate the whole thing, and finally you want to put it to some kind of GUI interface at the front end, and you want to do some kind of testing of the entire thing is working, and you want to get some kind of assessment or GUI output kind of, you say you touch button then you can control a remote robot. Those kind of things are all done by what is called a JavaScripting. Everywhere you cannot use C programming. You can use C programming, but developing the entire stack is graphical and support infrastructures and making it platform independent. Those kind of all, and control structures, writing control structures and things like that. They can all be done by using Java framework, so that in the future you can use Java as a kind of like, and because it's platform independent kind of thing, it is just library call, so it's already written, and you don't have to write specially C programming or some other things. So that is why all application kind of front end, back end, server communication, processor control, devices control. Devices control also is a huge area, and robo control using visual robo control, and those kind of things are all done by what is called Java. That is why we wanted to look into some of the things of frameworks of Java. Okay, this is how it looks like, I think. Okay, Java frameworks. I wanted to show you one other thing. I forgot where it is. It's a huge thing. Okay, so Spring, Hibernate, Struts, Blade, Play, Quarkus, Drop, Grails, Word, In. So this for any kind of input output kind of thing you use. For IO control, mostly use Word in, Grails, or for something to framework kind of thing. So drop wanted or something like that. Okay, those kind of things. Let's what it plays for mostly for reactive kind of environment. Okay, I think there's another called something called React. I don't know where it is. I think it's over. I think so. Basically, play comes under React, or suppose I think JSF Start Spring. So I think they've gone a little bit advanced on these things. That is why you are not saying all this React and other things and all. I think it's a old library setting right now. Okay, so understand all the differences. For testing also you can use for testing your own written code on Java. Okay, at the front end, back end, and all those things can be used using Java also. So for automated testing also you can use some other things and other things. So many things are the possibilities. Okay, and if you want to configure some of the automatic from 5 to 6 this router should be up, from 7 to 8 this router should be up, and for something like that you can time out also, those kind of things. This is all front end graphical user. Here is the main thing. Okay, so it has got JS. Okay, basically JS, CSS, and HTML. Okay, Angular. Yeah, this is the basic thing that is going to be used. It's called Angular. Okay, so you have to be very thorough of JS, Angular, JSP. Okay, Java servlet pages. Okay, so you can just create all the Java servlet pages, servlets, and that is called interact kind of thing. That is why JSP is there. Okay, Spring is a framework for another thing. Okay, then you have web services, Java web service, Java REST API, Hibernate, PenJPA. Okay, this is another one called PenJPA. Then after that, database types are all Oracle, PostgRE, SQL, JBoss. Okay, Apache, Tomcat, and IBM. So IBM frameworks are all controlled. All this something to do with database management kind of things. So those things are all come under different class. Okay, so you have to know some of these things. Okay, in order to develop some of the things for your router configuration, those kind of things. Okay, and control manage the entire kind of Google network, or the entire kind of different types of router configurations and all these things, and visually representing all these things and controlling, managing all the things can be done by these kind of frameworks. That is why we are studying about all these things and understanding some of the things of where you can use all these things and where it has to go, and where how we are going to configure the whole thing, how we are going to use the framework on different sects of the, say if you have a manufacturing floor, how where you are going to use these things in a different places. That is why we have to understand all these things. So they have given a support for all these things, but it's got, Java bean structure also is given. Okay, that is also another thing. You can use Java beans also, to do some kind of inter-process communications or inter machine control. So if you want to, you have two machines, you want to control those two machines in a sync to all this, you can use Java beans and other things to do some of the things. JSON is another one, Hibernate, jQuery. Query is basically, jQuery is something to do with database. You can just ask and get returns for what are the things. So if you want to find out all the machines that are down right now, so that is a kind of query. So those things can be done by Java query. Okay, so that is all for today about routing operating system. Why you want to run an operating system? What kind of how to control a machine structure? How to do a device management? How to do a configuration of different? How to be platform independent on kind of routers or different types of OS and other things. Okay, that is all for today. Okay.